Hello and welcome to Bubble and Squeak DIY. My name is Debbie and today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be showing you the difference in coloring your soap to get swirl or marbling techniques. So I have the three colors that I used the other day to do the marble and chunk soap in the purple, the green, and the yellow mica. And I'm going to do one where I drop the coloring with a pipette in the bottom and pour my white 3 soap base over the top of it and then add more drops, pour again until we get to the top to show you what that technique does for putting colors into your soap. We are using distilled water again in these. Then we're going to compare it to, I had the green, yellow, and purple from the other day left over in my cups, so I'm going to take those and they'll be solid colors, and then we're going to pour them and let them swirl in here. Again, that's being used with the distilled water. So we're going to see what the difference is between those, and then after that I'm going to take the same coloring and same soaps again, and I'm going to repeat the process, but instead of using distilled water we're going to use rubbing alcohol, so I can show you what happens when we do it that way as opposed to it. So we're going to be making 4 bars in total today. We're going to start with the distilled water first, and then I'm going to clean everything up and redo them using the rubbing alcohol. So I'm going to go ahead and melt my soap bases down again and we will get started. Okay, so I'm back and I have melted down my 3 butter soap base, and I'm going to take for this first one my pipettes. I've got 3 of them here, and I'm going to drop colors from each bath bomb mold that has the distilled water into the bottom of the mold. So I'm just going to stir up the purple here. It seems to be separating a little bit from the water. So I'm going to drop just drops randomly of the purple. And then I'm going to do the green. Just give it a swirl here. And then I'm going to do the yellow. And I'm not doing this in any particular fashion, I just want to make sure that I have some of each color in here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my melt and pour soap base. I'm just going to measure the temperature. 162. It's a bit hot still. Actually, I forgot. I'm going to add in a scent to this one called fresh picked strawberry. So I'm going to go ahead and draw up, not too much because I'm only doing 1 bar, so I'm going to do about 1 ml. Oops. Of scenting. And I'm going to drop it into my soap base. And I'm just going to take my skewer and I'm going to stir it in here for a moment. Once you've added your scent in, you'll find that the soap base cools some. So I'm just adding a little bit more of scenting in because I want this to be quite highly scented. I have a friend that I give my bars to sometimes, and she likes to have a high scenting in them. Stirring also helps the cooling process. And you'll feel your soap start to thicken up as it cools down. The 3 butter soap base tends to be not quite as thick as, say, goat's milk or an oatmeal bar. Depending on the bases in the soap, it'll feel thicker or thinner. I've used this one enough that I know when it's starting to feel thicker, whereas I find the goat's milk goes even thicker than this one at the same temperatures. Still at 151. I want to bring this down into the 130s. So I'm going to go ahead and just let this cool a little further, and I'll be back when it's closer to being ready. Okay, so I'm back and my base is now cooled to about 135. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pour this just as is with the scenting in it over these dots that I've made to create a swirl pattern in my soap. And once I have done about a quarter, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to repeat the process of putting each color, just dropping it into the soap base. So you can see what's going on in here. And I'm going to pour again. And I'm going to repeat the process. And I'm going to keep doing this until this is full. Again, there's no magic number about how far your soap goes up. I'm going to try to do this 3 times, just so that I get a good amount of coloring going on. And I'll pour again. And I'm just going to do it one more time. And then I'm going to fill it the rest of the way. Okay, so that is done. I'm going to spray the top just to make sure that there's no air bubbles going on. And that's going to help swirl some of these colors together as well with the white base in between. I'm not going to take my skewer and swirl at this at all. I'm just going to leave it as it is as we've poured the soap in, so that we can see what happens when we unmold it. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to melt down my 3 colors that I had in the solids, and I'll be back and we'll pour those. Okay, so I'm back and I have my 3 solid melt and pour bases. This is the yellow, and I have the green and the purple all melted down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour some yellow about the quarter of the way up, and then I'm going to take the green and I'm going to swirl it in just back and forth, up and down, until it's a quarter of the way up as well. So that's 3/4 of the way, a little bit more, 3/4 of the way up the soap. And then I'm going to do the purple. put a little more yellow in here because I didn't have quite enough purple to take it all the way to the top, and I would like this bar to be to the top. So this one, if you remember from the Marble and Chunks soap tutorial, is already pre-scented in the coconut. So Caribbean coconut it's called. So I've now sprayed at the top with rubbing alcohol to try to get rid of some of the bubbles in it. And I have a little bit of skin from the purple that went in, and I'm okay with that because this is just a tutorial to show you what we can do. Again, I'm not going to put my skewer in because I want to see what happens with the soaps done the two different ways. I've got some flecking going on from the purple, so I'm thinking that the soap dyes, the little packets, don't mix quite as well in the distilled water as they do in the rubbing alcohol. So we'll see the difference with that when we do the other two molds. I'm going to do these two because I got a little bit of yellow in here. So we're going to wait for these to set, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do two the same way, but instead of there being distilled water in with the dyes, we're going to use the rubbing alcohol, 91% rubbing alcohol, to blend with them. And we'll do again the solid soaps, and we'll do one with the drops as well. So we'll let these set so that I'm not disturbing any of the process that's going on before we do the next set. So we'll be back soon. Okay, so I'm back, and while I was off camera, I went ahead and cleaned out all my soap containers except for the plain white, which has got the Fresh Picked Strawberry scent by Kendora in it. I've chosen for my other bar of soap that will be the 3 colors to use Kendora soap scent called Amber. I wanted to mention too, I'm not wearing gloves at the moment because I'm not handling any of these soaps. Once I go to unmold them, the gloves will go on so that I don't contaminate anything, and when I'm handling things in between, I'm being very careful not to touch anything. When I cut my soap, I always have gloves on. So we're going to go ahead now. I've added alcohol and coloring to all of these bath bomb molds with the rubbing alcohol in the same 3 colors. So we have our dark purple, which is the soap dye in the little packages. I have yellow zest, which is some Stardust Mica soap. Stardust Mica. And then I have a Stardust Mica tail green. So those are the same colors that I used in these. And these are with the rubbing alcohol. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the first one where we put the drops in the bottom. Just going to do the purple now. So the purple mica from the soap dye company seems to mix better with the rubbing alcohol as opposed to the water. And some of these drops might mingle a little bit, and that's okay because they're going to swirl when we put the the soap on top of them anyway. So I'm going to go ahead now, and I'm just going to, I've got a nice skin on my soap. So I should be sitting well in the 130s. I am going to use my temperature gun and check the temperature of the soap just to make sure, because I want these all to be well in the 130s before I use them. Yeah, this one is sitting at 134, so it's only a degree cooler than when I was pouring the last one. And again, over the top of them. And I'm going to fill it about a quarter full. And then I'm going to do the same process again, and I'm going to do this 3 times again. So drops of green, drops of yellow. And I don't know if you can see, they're kind of spreading out when I'm using the rubbing alcohol with the micas. Whereas the other ones stayed a little more put, I found, when I was squirting them in. Drop there. So this seems to cover the whole surface of the soap. And we're going to pour again. I'm going to repeat the process just one more time. Might have been just a little too much purple, but it's okay though. Just going to add a little bit more rubbing alcohol to this one because it's getting thick in the bottom here. To the yellow. Okay. So this should be the last pour I do with this soap. Oh, I overfilled. Okay, that's all right. I'm just gonna get a piece of paper towel and get it off the one side so it doesn't merge too much with the other soap. I'll be right back. Okay, so I do have over pour on this side still. And I don't know if you can see, but the colors are kind of whirling around still in there from the rubbing alcohol that I've sprayed on top, plus the rubbing alcohol that's in the actual dyes. So I'm gonna leave this one for a minute. I'm gonna start melting my other bases so I can put the solid colors in with the rubbing alcohol, and we'll pour that one in here. So I'll be right back. So I'm back and the soap has now set in the molds. So we're gonna go ahead and unmold these now and see what we've got from our experiment. So the first one was the one on the top right for me that we put the drops in. So let's see what's happened here. So we can see that with the water, the soap has kind of stayed in this pattern on the top of the soap, and it looks pretty, but it kind of looks like it may have bled through the soap a little bit, but the majority of it has stayed on the bottom of the soap. So this is the one where we put the drops of the coloring into the bottom of the mold and then poured the soap over top of them. I would think that if you took a skewer and ran it through the soap, this might actually swirl a bit better, but it's quite pretty just like that. So that's that one. And this is the one where I did the solid colors, but it was done with the water. And then we blended them. So that looks like this. So this is the two different soaps done, drop and the solid colors blended. So that's quite pretty. You've got a swirl as opposed to the dots in that one. And it seems to have blended all through the bar. So I think when you do the solid colors, it works a bit better than the drop technique, unless I think if you took a skewer and you swirled it around. Now I didn't swirl this one with a skewer either. You might get a better swirl if we'd done that, but I wanted to do this for this experiment just to see what would happen if we left it alone on the pores. The bars smell really, really good. So this is again, let's do the drop one first. So this is the drop technique using the rubbing alcohol. And as you can see with the rubbing alcohol, we've got actually more of a swirl going on when we poured the white soap on it, and it's gone through the bar a whole lot better. So I would say experiment purpose from water, distilled water and mica to rubbing alcohol and mica, you're going to get a better swirl. So it just depends on what look you're kind of looking for. So let's see what happened with the solid with the rubbing alcohol. So we do have a better, again, swirl in this one than we do in the water. So that's the water, and that is using the mica with the rubbing alcohol, solid colors. So I would say if you want a big swirl going on, you would use the rubbing alcohol, and if you wanted less swirl, you would use and like more of a color definition, you would use the water and maybe a skewer to swirl it into the soap more. So maybe another time I'll do another soap where we use the distilled water, but we actually use the skewer to swirl it so we can see what happens. So that's the end of this tutorial. I hope you've enjoyed this experiment, and I hope you have a wonderful Easter. We will be back to do some more soaping videos once Easter is over, and I hope that you will like and you will subscribe to my channel. Have a good day.